Thanks for joining me in another Quicken Mac video. I'm going to talk about how to enter in and also memorize your paycheck so that it comes in, kind of goes in your register in advance automatically, and you don't have to do all the tedious splitting every time. Beyond that, I wanted to mention that I recently set up some paid subscription tiers on YouTube. The first tier is that you can get more advanced Quicken videos that are not on the channel, at large. And I'll also continue to make advanced videos that are not on the channel at large. So those will go in there. The next tier is, of course, it includes what I just mentioned in tier 1, but it also includes the ability for you to request a video. And if you are in the higher tier subscription, I will prioritize and make your video in relative short order so that your specific question gets answered. I got a long list of Quicken videos I'm supposed to make or gonna make at some point. So anytime anyone asks, usually their request goes to the bottom of that list, but I'll put yours at the top. Okay, so gonna move into the video now. See you in there. All right, everybody, paychecks. So couple ways you can enter your paycheck in Quicken. Well, just in any accounting software, Quicken or not. Your paycheck, obviously, I'm going to give you, I got an example paycheck stub here. Sorry that it looks like it's from the 80s. It was like the quickest one I could find that had everything I wanted on Google. That was a sample. But anyway, your paycheck, represents a couple of things. It represents your gross income, whatever your salary is. If your salary is $100,000 a year, and you get paid twice a month, however much that gross pay is. Then, of course, also shows what your company has held out of your gross pay in terms of tax and other deductions and sent on to the appropriate place. And then the net result of that is what you are able to deposit in the bank, or what goes in on your direct deposit. Now, I've seen people do this two ways. I actually have this paycheck entered in here the way I would do it with the splits, but I'm going to show you a couple things. So some people say, hey, I got my paycheck, and the amount of it was, what was that, 1760.72, and that's what I put in the bank, and that's what matters to me. So I'm just going to consider that my income. That's really not correct. Your income is the gross number on the paycheck. So this is the net, and the gross pay is this, or your salary. But some people are like, hey, I don't care. I don't want to put in the taxes, whatever. They're out the door. I'm probably not going to get them back, blah, blah, blah. Let's just put in pay. So you could have a category. I have a category, a couple income categories called personal income W-2 gross income and income W-2 net income. In this case, if you're only concerned with the net income, which, again, I don't recommend. I always recommend you do things the best way. But if you want to cut a little corner here and you don't care, you could just, I would put it in this category called net income. And of course, I'm going to show a report because everything you do with categorization is all about translating the data into a report you can read, that helps you. So in this report here, the way I have my category set up, and I know this is a little confusing because this report says inflows and outflows, but I got my income, down here. The way I set up the categories in the Mac is, you'll eventually notice they're all expense categories, because I don't like to have all my income in this one bucket and all my expenses in this other bucket. I like to have certain things next to each other and certain things subtotaling in a certain way, and so I can read the report better. So I just put everything as an income expense, and then you can put credits and debits in either an expense or income category. So sorry, got off track there. Anyway, in my report here, you're going to see this down here, a W-2 net income. There you go. But it doesn't really reflect, reality. So if you want to enter your paycheck and have it reflect reality, you are going to hit edit details here and we are going to add some splits. This is otherwise known in accounting world as journaling in the detail. We're journaling in the detail of the check because this net number, again, represents you making some money and then your company sending some of that onto the state and federal agencies on your behalf. We're going to capture all that activity with our journaling. So I did it already in advance. We'll go back to our paycheck here. So we got our gross income and then we have all our deductions here, right? So in this split, I have, instead of the net income category, I got this income for W2 or gross income, and I put a positive number there. The removal of things is a negative number, right? Because it's, instead of me getting it, it's being taken away from me and passed on to the authorities. And we're going to break up those expenses. So we got federal tax, right? Like your company on your behalf paid your federal tax. They didn't pay you less. They paid you this, and then they helped you out by sending the government some of your taxes. Well, I don't know if that's the right word, but so we got federal tax 410, Social Security, blah blah blah, state income tax, and you notice here I got categories for all those things. I got an area called taxes, and I got my fed, state, local, and all my stuff. So now I have captured like the detail of what's happening there. Then also this example person's paycheck has a deduction of $15 going to the health insurance. Now, that's some cheap health insurance right there, but that's not really kind of what's happened. What's happened is the company has paid for the vast majority of the monthly cost of the health insurance, and the employee is paying in a little to that. So I have a category called health insurance, under my personal expenses healthcare, and I'm putting that $15 towards health insurance. Now, I'll do a little note here in that if I really wanted to understand my income from my company really well in my reporting, I would do a double split here. I would actually add another line, and I would say part of my income is the health insurance they pay for me. So if my health insurance was $1,000 a month and I only paid $15, I actually made $1,000 a month and spent $1,000 a month on health insurance, right? It's just that $985 of it, the company sent in on my behalf, and then I sent in the rest. You could look at it that way, or you could just, go the simpler route and say, you know what, I just paid $15 for health insurance, and I'm going to match what's on my paycheck here. But, I, as a business owner, someone who had many employees and paid a lot of health insurance, yes, I was paying health insurance on behalf of people, but really what that meant was they weren't having to spend money on health insurance, just in the open market. So they were actually making more money via the health insurance. You could look at it one of two ways, though. I'll tell you what, if you're self-employed like I am and you need health insurance, you go to the open market and you pay quite a lot. Okay, but anyway, in this case, the health insurance deduction I just put in as health insurance. Now I have 401k and flex account. Now I could make an expense account called 401k, right? But that doesn't really reflect reality. What's happening there is $10 is going into my 401k account that I own, and it's my money, and it's just an investment account, right? That has some tax benefits that my employer provides as a, benefit. So I have over here under retirement, I got my 401k account set up, right? And I categorize this as a transfer to my 401k account. And that way I can see over here, every paycheck I put in my $10, that's, you got to put in more than that. My 401k balance is going to go up. Now, if my 401k account, by the way, was at, say, I don't know, Fidelity, I very likely could link that my account in Quicken to the Fidelity, and it would download all my positions in there, and I could see the value of my 4 account growing via my investments. But every paycheck, I show the deposit that shows up in that account in reality is pre-entered into via this paycheck, and then when you upload your data from, or download your data from Fidelity, it's going to see that deposit and it's going to have a match. So there's that. Now, this also, which I thought part of the reason why I liked this very 80s looking dot matrixy sample, was that it had a flex account, or aka flexible spending account. That's another kind of benefit that companies offer. Your company might offer that, it might not. It's kind of like a health savings account. Basically, you can put money in your flexible spending account pre-tax, so much like a 401k. You put money in there and you're not paying tax on that $10. The flexible spending account, you put $50 in there, you're not spending tax on that. And then you can go use that money to pay for out-of-pocket healthcare costs, like stuff that's not covered by deductible. You can even pay for your aging parents. There's a variety of things you can go now spend that money on, and you didn't have to pay tax on that. So definitely something to check out from your company if they have it. Could be very valuable. Again, me as self-employed, I have a similar type of thing. It's called a health savings account, HSA. So I have a health insurance plan that accommodates an HSA. I put money in the HSA every year, and I get the deduction for that. And then I go buy the health care with the account. But anyway, an HSA, or a flex spending account, is generally also an investment account. So you put the money in there and you can go invest it in stocks and other things while you're waiting to use it. You may or may not want to have it invested. You don't have to, but it's an account that accumulates value. So I have that set up in Quicken here as my test, flex spending account. And when I take the money out of here, it goes into there. So now I save that, and you'll notice here, if I go to my reporting, I have my real gross income here, and then I have all the taxes I've paid. And then, as you can imagine, every paycheck enters, your gross income throughout the year is growing, and the amount of tax you've paid is growing. But a reminder, you didn't send the money to taxes. Your business, your company sent it to them on your behalf, but these are taxes obviously paid that credited your sort of tax accounts with the IRS, right? This is handy to know, like how much have I paid in tax already? Maybe you're a CPA or accountant. When you go to do your tax return, they say, hey, how much you pay in tax already? They could get your W-2 and find out, of course, too, but you would have all that information in here. Now, as you can imagine, as you get into owning a business or whatever, and you get deductions and things, it's even more valuable to know more info about your overall finances for the year. It really helps you do your tax prep at the end of the year to do it so much more quickly, of course. But, in addition to giving you the mission critical information about your income and expenses and so on, just for staying on your lifelong financial plan. Okay, so this paycheck, we can either go net and just know very little detail, or we can go gross minus tax and then also minus our 401k and see that amount of money starting to pile up in these accounts. This is the way I would do it. But you're probably saying to yourself, if you haven't done this before, wow, Joe, man, I got to do that every paycheck? That really does not look like a good time. I don't want to be doing that every paycheck, and I don't blame you. So Quicken says, I got you covered on that. We can memorize this paycheck and auto enter it into your checking register every month on whatever schedule you set, and it will already be in there. So when you go download after you've gotten paid and your net paycheck comes through the download, Quicken, says, hey, I noticed this thing downloaded, but I already have this entered in here. These are the same things, right? And he matches them up. And then you don't have to do any of this data entry ever again. So in order to do that, we are going to go over here and go to Schedule Selected Transaction. All right. And up comes this area, and you can, see the details. The details are already in here because we've already entered them in the transaction we're saving. So you're going to see that, oh, all my splits are in there. Nice, nice. I don't even have to do it. Net amount, perfect. Blah, blah, blah. I could add some more info. And then over here it says mark as deposited. So do it myself is basically, even though I've memorized it, I got to go tell Quicken enter it now. Or automatically would be like Quicken will enter it on the date, of the next scheduled payment, or you could do it before scheduled date, which is I do. I usually enter it like 5 or 10 days before. That way I make sure that it gets in my register before I do the download. So I do that, and then over here I can set the schedule. Now in this case, I'm setting it just monthly for the sake of this illustration, but I could put the start date, 2/27. I've already done 1/27, so if this is a monthly paycheck, which obviously is not usual, I could start in 2/27. I could do it every month. I could end never. I could also though make it weekly. I make it twice a month. I could make it whatever here. I could make it annual. Twice a month. So if you get paid every other week, every 2 weeks, you would probably want to do every 2 weeks, right? But if you get paid twice a month, those are the two most common pay schedules, you would go twice a month, and then you can say on this day and on this day, right? So pretty easy to follow. And then I'm going to cancel because I've already done this, but where that now is saved is under bills and income. Go to income. I got this thing saved here. And I, at the time when I did this, set it up for monthly, and I set it up to auto enter, and it's going to enter, however many days I set it, and it's going to end up popping over right in here in my register. Now, just to illustrate that, I could also, though, if I'm like, hey, I just want to put it in now, I don't want to wait, right? So I say mark as deposited. You'll see now this has changed. The next one's going to come out March 27th, but if I go over here, I got that check in here. Now, put it in on the date I did the manual entry, so you probably wouldn't be doing manual entry. But anyway, so you might have this one little weird issue, though. Sometimes, depending on the amount of your pay and your taxes and so on, it's really frustrating. Every other paycheck you have is off by like a penny. So this paycheck is always $17.60.72. But your next check in your either semi-monthly or bi-weekly schedule nets out to 1760.73. And it's just so annoying. You're like, oh man, I can't hit the monthly, whatever. What I do in that case is you will have to enter the other paycheck that's off by, a penny, right? Here, let's we'll do it here. I'm gonna say I'll take this one that I auto entered. And say this, paycheck actually came out on the 13th, right? And it was off because, I don't know, your federal taxes, the way it works, it always ends up, hold on. It did an adjustment here. I got to actually, when you make an adjustment like that, you have to get rid of that and then save it, and then it'll change the amount. I can save my other paycheck that's off by a penny, and then I can memorize that. And so you might want to put each individual paycheck on a monthly schedule. So the one that's .72, 17.60.72 cents goes once a month on this day, and the other one goes once a month offset by however, and that's how you can deal with that and never have to enter your paycheck. So someone did ask me, they were switching from Windows to Mac, and Windows version has this whole paycheck wizard thing where it kind of walks you through this whole process and sort of makes it a little easier. Mac doesn't have the wizard, but all the wizard does is this. It just kind of walks you through this. So this video is your wizard for the paycheck, essentially. So hopefully that was helpful. Yep, I said it again because I genuinely hope these videos are helpful. Otherwise, I would be colossally wasting my time. I will see you in another helpful video or the next helpful video. See you later.